Yo, it is getting so crazy out here, man. Shout out to Candace. She just has got all this information down. You know, she did all this digging and got this information. And to come to the fact of what she says on this, I don't know if y'all have seen this, but I'm not going to say anything. But we're going to play this clip. Well, we're going to play this video, and we're going to listen to the portion where she's talking about this whole Kamala thing and where she's going to the next level and finding information, man. Pray for Candace. Pray for her protection. Let's go.
It's unbelievable. It really and truly is.
Andrew Tate calls her Candace. Candace.
But you ain't got a lot of kick it.
Huh?
You ain't got a lot of kick it.
All right, y'all. We're going to play this.
Should we begin? You guys have heard of whitewashing history, but have you heard of blackwashing? Blackwashing is when you're a politician and it's election season and suddenly you have to relate to black people. So you just sort of start making stuff up to blackify yourself, your history. You start dropping a bunch of slang and colloquialisms and hoping that the people will therefore understand you. Honestly, it's become something of a democratic rite of passage. Except this time, I think we may have caught the culprit red-handed. Of course, I'm speaking about Kamala Harris.
White-handed.
I think her and her campaign team are really going to regret the day that their media henchmen came for Janet Jackson.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Candace.
It was all because Janet.
Wow. But
Janet said it, and Janet said it all in like, and she didn't know.
Innocence,
she just heard what she heard.
Yeah.
From sources.
Exactly. Innocence.
She thought everybody else knew this.
I'm literally buzzing with excitement right now for what we just discovered. Obviously, we are running a little bit late today, but as I said, it will be well worth the wait. So yesterday, we were getting closer and closer, asking questions, obviously, about Kamala's genealogy. If you need to go back, you can do that. Begin with episode 70 and work your way forward to see how this mystery has unfolded. So we were left with some major holes in Kamala's genealogy. We had from her father, Donald J. Harris, that he grew up in Jamaica and was raised by his grandmother, Miss Iris. He effectively wrote an entire piece about his Jamaican heritage and really focused on his grandmother, like she is the person that made the most difference for him. He honorably mentioned Miss Iris's husband, who he only referred to as Mr. Christie, and remained conspicuously silent about his own mother. How do you do that? How do you just say one sentence about your mother, refer to her as Miss Beryl? And I want to be clear, you're writing this for the population, right? You're talking about your heritage. Even if you called your mother Miss Beryl, you would probably, for the sake of wanting people to be clear on who you're referring to, list her full name. He didn't do that. He just said one sentence. This is not to, ignore my mother, Miss Beryl. And that was it. And we know that her full name, according to her birth certificate, is Beryl Magdalene Finnegan. And we know that at various times she took on the middle name Christie. He also mentioned in that piece that his father was Mass Oscar. I guess, again, that is kind of a slang way of referring to his father. But I was completely stumped. I was completely stumped as I was looking further into this because I could not find a marriage record between his father, Oscar Joseph Harris, Miss Oscar, and his mother, Beryl Finnegan. Like, this is something that to me seemed really odd.
Strange.
And some people who wanted to rationalize it were saying, oh, no, that's just how things were. And sometimes people didn't have record. No, I wasn't buying any of that because we were dealing with a family that had money. It is just a fact that Kamala Harris's family descends from slavers. They were given money for their slaves. Somebody did the calculation, essentially, for that day and time, it would have been $11 million that they inherited for their slaves once it was abolished.
11 million.
It is why when he speaks about his Jamaican heritage, he speaks about them as having owned stores, right? So this is not your typical black story that we're referring to here. And so I expected very much for there to be a record of marriage. Oddly, as you guys will recall, any records that I did find suggested to me that Beryl may have been the domestic help, who may have also given birth to a son named Donald, born in 1938, who died before he even turned 2. So that was very strange. Question marks. We were like, okay, we're seeing this Beryl, we're seeing this Donald Harris, we're seeing that an infant died. What's really going on here? Why is it starting to feel like a scary movie? But of course, we want to rationalize it ourselves. Like, maybe it is just a coincidence that another Beryl had another Donald in 1938 in St. Aaron Parish, and we shouldn't look too far into that. What we knew for certain was that Beryl, the correct Beryl, was married at the age of 25. So Donald Harris, who was presenting as Kamala's father, would have been 6 years old. She got married to a man named Lawford Newland, who he has completely erased from his childhood historical account. When he wrote this piece, he did not mention a Lawford Newland, a stepdaddy named Lawford Newland. And that was odd because then it would suggest that she would have had to have married his father, Oscar Joseph Harris, after that. So have the kid, marry someone else, and then go back and marry your baby daddy. I don't know, but I needed to find some records. We also couldn't find a divorce record, by the way, between Lawford Newland and Beryl Finnegan. Where's the divorce record? We did see that he went to America. We searched there. He went through New Orleans. We went through California. We just could not find anything. And in my view, there were too many holes in his account, numbers that he got wrong about the siblings. I just felt that there was a secret here. So I decided that we needed more information specifically about Donald J. Harris himself.
Wow.
And we couldn't find a birth certificate for him, which I flagged as odd. And I also wanted to find that marriage certificate between his father, Oscar J. Harris, and his mother, Beryl Finnegan. That was crucial to me. So here's what we stumbled upon. More information about Donald J. Harris appeared to us. This is going to get crazy, you guys. I'll tell you how we put this together. Through old Jamaican newspaper clippings that had been digitized. So first and foremost, this one fact checks, but it was a little bit of tidbit of an information that I thought was interesting. It was a wedding announcement that was published in the Kingston Gleaner. That's the name of the newspaper. It was published, as you can see here, November 1st, 1963, which just announces the wedding of presumably Kamala's mother, as we're told, Shyamala Gopalin, to Donald J. Harris. It reads, he is the son of Oscar J. Harris of Spanish Town and Mrs. Beryl Finnegan. Okay. It writes, before leaving, it says, before leaving Jamaica in and can you pull that up? Because I couldn't read it for clarity. But it says, before leaving Jamaica in, it looks like maybe I don't want to guess it, Mr. Harris worked for the Jamaican Information Service. Okay, what is the Jamaican Information Service? That's what I asked myself. What is that? I'll tell you what it is. The Jamaican Information Service is an executive agency of the government of Jamaica that is responsible for disseminating information. It used to be known as the Government Public Relations Office. It says that to achieve its objectives, the agency utilizes a broad range of media skill sets: print, radio, television, graphic arts, video projection, and public relations. It was established in 1956. Okay, so now we know that before he left Jamaica, he worked for the government. So he's got some connections in government. And he's not the only one, because that newspaper article goes on to inform us that his bride, who we're told is Kamala's mother, is the daughter of Mr. P.V. Gopalin, the Deputy Secretary of the Government of India. So she is also connected to the government of India, and her dad is the Deputy Secretary of the Government of India. That's just a thing that I think is important to know, that these two people worked for the government and they came together and they got married. Now, we still could not find a marriage record between these two, but it may be plausible that they got married somewhere else, but at least we see the announcement. So I thought, now let's focus on his father, right? I'm looking for something to attach Oscar to Beryl, presumably, if this is a family that is important enough to have wedding announcements in the newspaper. Maybe we will be able to stumble upon something between Oscar and Beryl. Now, I want to remind you that Kamala brought up Oscar J. Harris, her grandfather, in her book, and she reveals a picture of him on page 282. So I'm going to show you that right now. It reads, when I was 10 months old, I visited Spanish Town, Jamaica. This is me with my mother and my paternal grandfather, Oscar Joseph. So we know his name is Oscar Joseph Harris, and we know that that's what he looks like thanks to Kamala Harris's book. Great, love that. So I looked him up, and at first the father came up for a bankruptcy hearing announcement. This is dated, by the way, March 11th, 1939. So this would have been 1 year after Donald was allegedly born. It just reads, in the matter of bankruptcy petition against Reginald Victor Harris, Oscar Joseph Harris, and Newton Alexander Harris of Brownstown in the parish of St. Anne, trading as Harris Bros, take notice that the above named intend to apply for the revocation of the provisional order of bankruptcy made against them in this honorable court on the 6th day of January 1939. Okay, so we know that they were apparently going through some bankruptcy proceedings, and they were fighting those bankruptcy proceedings. They were going to stand against them. But what's relevant there is that we know it's him because it lists his brothers. It lists that they're from Browntown, and we have fact-checked that genealogy. So this is the correct family. This is the grandfather that Kamala is referring to in her book. Mm-hmm. Here is where it is going to get crazy. Buckle up. I really hope you guys are sitting for this.
Yeah, I'm ready.
He came up again.
Come on.
And fortunately, it was for a wedding. Unfortunately, it was not for a wedding to Beryl. Instead, just like Beryl married somebody else, apparently he married somebody else. Now, this clipping is from June 9th, 1952. Look at this. It says, Oscar Harris weds Vioris Cambridge.
Are you following along?
Yes, I am.
Okay, because it's a lot of names.
It is a lot of names.
Okay.
Now, I want you to look at this photo, and it certainly looks like, and I know it's a shadow on the left-hand side, but I'm going, that looks like the picture. You can tell by that balding pattern of the person that Kamala has presented to us as her grandfather. And he looks mixed race to me, but that woman on the right looks white to me. Now, I know you're going, Candace, that's crazy. It's a black and white photo, but, you know, there's a certain way when you're photographing a black woman that she comes across, and that ain't it, my friends. But again, that was a theory. Let's read the article. It reads, Vioris Cambridge.
I bet you if she... drainage. I bet you if she were to... I bet you somebody out here that can take that photo and they can put it together, and it'll show a better look of what that picture actually looks like. I bet you
those experts who treat pictures, and that's their area.
I bet you they could put it together, and it's going to be...
It's kind of dark. It looks like she has a mask on, and he has a mask, but it could be the picture.
Yeah.
Unless, you know, they wear something over their face for their wedding.
Daughter of Mr. and Mrs. V.S. Cambridge of St. Elizabeth, that's another parish in Jamaica, became the bride of Oscar Harris of Browntown, St. Anne, at a beautiful ceremony in the St. Andrew Parish Church, Halfway Tree, on Thursday last night. Her slenderness enhanced by a gown of white nylon and chantilly lace. The bride, carrying a bouquet of white asters, was given in marriage by her father. Her only attendant, her sister, Carmen Cambridge, wore a gown of aqua nylon and chantilly lace with a bouquet of pink rosebuds. The best man in the ceremony, performed by the Reverend Grant Levi of Montego Bay, was Mr. Newton Harris, brother of the groom. During the signing of the register, Mr. Gene McDonald sang, "I'll Walk Beside You," and "Because," at a reception held at the home of the bride's uncle on Chester Avenue. Mr. Milton Hamilton was master of ceremonies. I just went, what the heck is this?
Right.
First and foremost, how odd that Donald J. Harris, as he's recollecting these memories from his childhood, now has left out the part where Beryl married someone when he would have been 6 years old and would have been his stepfather. But he's also now leaving out the fact that his mother similarly married someone when he was a little bit older. I mean, that his father similarly married someone when he was a little bit older, and that woman, at least according to my eyes, appears to me to be fully Caucasian. But I said, that sounds crazy. Let me see if I can find this woman, Vioris Cambridge, by a quick Google search. Like, where? That's quite a different name, Vioris. I've never heard it before. Certainly, something's going to pop up, and certainly just one thing did. And it was a funeral entry of a white woman who died in Broward County. And what I noticed about this entry was that it was very scant on details. I'm going to show this to you. Okay? Vioris
Look
Anita
at the face.
McPherson,
Look how she holds her face.
And I'm looking at that face on the left there, and I'm going, I recognize that face.
Yes.
This woman looks familiar to me. Am I crazy? Are you guys seeing this? She looks a little bit like Kamala Harris.
She does.
There's something about the smirk. I don't know. Am I crazy? So I said, let me not jump to conclusions. Maybe I am just so down far the rabbit hole that I'm seeing Kamala's face. So I read this entry, and it says, it is with great sadness that the family of Vioris Anita Harris McPherson Cambridge, in parentheses, so we know that that's her maiden name right there, announces her passing on Saturday, June 15th, 2019. She will be lovingly remembered by her children and spouses, her grandchildren and spouses, her great-grandchildren, cousins, nieces, nephews, and friends. We will celebrate her life on Saturday, June 29th, 2019 at 10 o'clock a.m. at Christ the Rock Community Church. It gives the address there, and it says where they will immediately follow at a reception hall. In lieu of flowers, donations may be made to the Alzheimer's Foundation in memory of Vioris Harris McPherson. So nothing given to us there, literally nothing given to us about our family. Have you ever seen that? Usually survived by a sister, a cousin, a brother. I went to see if anybody posted anything. It says she has a really big family. I was like, okay, well, certainly somebody would have posted on the board. You know, people do that all the time. I'm so sorry for your loss. Love you. Cousin, I'll see you there. Hug, kisses, nothing. Very weird. And then tried to look this woman up in Broward County records, and it just looks like people are trying to protect who she was. It doesn't tell me who she's married. I don't see anything there in Broward County. It just says an entry for a marriage that took place in 1994. And I also see that she's got another name there, McPherson, so maybe she got remarried. But it at least tells us that her birthday was October 7th, 1927. So I thought to myself, can I find a woman, a white woman who was born in Jamaica with that exact birth date, with that exact name? It's, like I said, a very different name, Vioris. And the answer is yes, we did. We were able to locate her birth certificate. And now we know why it said that she was married to V.S. Cambridge. It had listed her father as V.S. Cambridge, Mr. and Mrs. V.S. Cambridge. That's because her father's name is Vivian. Her mother's name is Adina Wright. And here you have it, born in Elizabeth. St. Elizabeth is... here she is. This is this woman, Vioris Cambridge, born to Vivian Cambridge and Adina Wright on October 7th, 1927 in St. Elizabeth, Jamaica.
Wow. That's her grandmama.
Is going.
That's her grandma.
Right.
Who is this woman?
That's her grandma.
Why hasn't this been mentioned? Why does it feel like this profile was being very hidden? And again, as Donald was jumping in to his family background, speaking about how Jamaican it was, why didn't he mention this? Why didn't he mention this woman, his white relatives?
You know why they're not mentioning it? Because they need that image of Kamala to look a certain way to get the vote. It's all a game, people, that they're playing. They're covering up. They're hiding their own heritage of who they are because they need you to vote. They know that you're going to feel differently if you say this is a white Indian mixed woman versus a black person because the Democratic Party needs the black community.
But doesn't this story sound a little familiar?
Obama. See, I'm telling you. And then they run together too. And this is so deep state stuff. That's why when you think of the deep state, this is why. This is why it's the deep state. It runs very deep left. And they don't care whatever they need to do to be able to get what they want. This is crazy.
Yep.
It might be relevant when we're having a discussion about Kamala's race to mention the fact that your dad married a white woman. I'm just saying. There's another picture of her.
That's our mama.
There's
That's our
something
grandma.
familiar about her smile.
Look at that
There's
look.
something familiar. I'm looking at this woman. I'm going, this woman
area.
looks to me like Kamala Harris. Now, something even weirder. The person who did create something for her online, okay, who created a profile for her on Ancestry.com, look what he put in the middle of her name. He lists her name as Vioris Anita Iris Cambridge.
Wow.
Fascinating.
Yep.
Absolutely fascinating. So we looked into this briefly. And again, all of this has transpired within the last 4 hours. So we are not as organized about this, or we are not as certain about this, but it looks like the person who made this entry was a member of her extended family. It looks like she got remarried in 1994 in America and that's where she picks up the name McPherson. And that individual put Iris in quotation marks. Is it possible that Donald J. Harris, when he's fondly remembering Miss Iris, could be speaking about this woman? It's possible. Everything's a possibility. Like I said, he's very scant on the details here. What we do know is that he declined to mention this woman. He declined to mention someone that his father married who was completely white. And as I said, I wouldn't have an issue with this if people were forthcoming and spoke about this. The press, as you're out there referring to Janet Jackson as crazy, right, for suggesting, what did Janet Jackson say? She said that she heard that Kamala's father, Donald J. Harris, was Irish. Can somebody pull up that picture of yours again? She heard that his family was Irish. I think Vioris.
Irish.
Maybe Vioris, Cambridge.
That's
might
grandmama.
Be Irish.
Hey, grandmama.
Was she so crazy to mention that, press? Would it be so crazy if you guys did your actual job and looked into these things as opposed to constantly trying to obscure things to protect your preferred candidates?
Yeah.
Because you believe she should just be handed this? Now the question is it possible that the woman that we're looking at right there is Kamala's grandmother? Is it possible, based on the records that we have, that Beryl and Donald never did marry? Is it possible Beryl and Oscar, never did marry? Is it possible, is it feasible that that marriage never took place and they both married two different people, and that instead at some point when they decided to blackify Kamala's history, they included this Beryl as her grandmother?
Right.
Is it possible? I don't want to go too far down conspiracy lane, but I'm telling you that we're close here. This is a big missing piece of her family history that should have been mentioned.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yep.
And I find it highly suspicious. I do not think that we have answers still on who Donald Harris is. I do not trust him. I do not trust him just having discovered this information and realizing that he left out two significant marriages and is instead focusing on Kamala's great-grandmother, referring to her as Miss Iris. Wow. Who is Miss Iris actually? I can tell you that, again, we came across all of this in the last few hours, but we're going to stay on them, because now that we have found this piece and we have found this white woman, and again, I'm not trying to call her out for being a white woman, I'm just saying that, like, she is a white woman. She's very white, and Janet Jackson was not crazy to suggest this, and now we know that somebody is putting her in quotation marks as Iris, and a picture is starting to come together. Let me say this. If, and I'm not saying this is true, but if we find out that that woman is Kamala's real grandmother, and can we get a side-by-side of Kamala? If we find out that that is Kamala's real grandmother, and that she decided to appropriate the domestic help who potentially died younger as her grandmother, we are watching one of the most diabolical political moves that we have ever seen in the history of this country. I just want to say that. I'm not saying it's true, again, but I'm saying that I don't like the picture. I always find that the dog that isn't barking, the fact that they never mentioned these marriages, the fact that they laughed people out of the room when they suggested that Kamala Harris could be white, and the fact that they just refused to mention any aspect of this and are remaining hush-hush on it, doesn't make me feel good. I don't trust these people. There's something about Kamala saying she's in these streets that doesn't make me feel that she's being honest about who she actually is. And I'm not going to let go of this. Again, we are getting closer and closer, and I will bet you the DNC is paying attention to this showdown.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, before we cover
absolutely. So,
just like she worked for McDonald's too, right? Just like she worked for McDonald's.
Just lies.
But see, people don't investigate. Some people that's so supporting her. I'm like, they just believe anything.
Yo, this is coming out, man. This is like,
oh my gosh.
I'm telling you, this is gonna be that information. It's gonna keep getting deeper, and it's gonna shame this woman. I just don't believe that people, the DNC, I believe that these people already have.
Well,
I believe the people that part of the B, they have the data, but they're trying to cover it aggressively, or cover this and make sure that nobody digs and find it. Because look how dig she had, how much she had to dig, and look how things were altered and everything. But when I look at that picture of that grandmother, and I see some of those looks and ways,
features,
I'm like, that's your grandma. That's her grandma.
I mean, they look very, very close.
That's her grandmama.
when it comes to that nose, mouth, and eye area. I don't know what else to say.
I mean, how many more lies we're gonna hear?
But then people are going to want to make excuses, and that's what I don't like.
That's what I don't like.
That's what I don't like. They, you're getting the truth. You're getting solid information here. You're getting some documents. It's supposed to be marriage certificates, death certificates, birth certificates. You're getting all these some proof, and then people are going to make that up. They're going to turn that around and twist it.
Yes, and they're going to be like,
they're going to turn it around and twist it.
You know what it's going to be? We support her regardless.
Please.
We support her. We support her. I promise you that's what they're going to turn around and switch. But I think that it's over for this race.
Well, I
believe that this is what I believe. I believe that this woman will lose this race. She'll be shamed. She'll lose. People still going to vote for her because people are lunatic. A couple years, she'll have to totally revamp her image for the lie she told in 2024. To the one she told to the people, and they're gonna totally rebrand that image in
2028. You mean
2028? And they're gonna totally it's gonna be apologetic, and then people gonna fall for it again because she's gonna come to, and it's gonna be a whole campaign around identity. And but watch how they do. Watch how they are.
All I'm gonna say is I feel like things are gonna continue to unravel, and then she's going to have some type of explanation. Now, whether she faces the country in regards to it, we'll have to see.
Yeah.
This is still alleged right now, even though
what makes it real?
Even though Candace has brought some solid facts, but yet and still, you know how people are exactly. You know exactly how they want to twist it and say a bunch of hogwash. And the news is not. They're not digging. They're not looking. They're not. At least we haven't seen anything.
What do you think? You think she's gonna? How do you think? What do you think has to happen to make it be like the world's like? Because right now it's just Candace with this information, and
when more people start to dig,
when
more people start digging, and the buzz gets bigger, it's just a little choir chirp right now.
All it takes is some people that ain't feeling what she's talking about, that live in Jamaica, and be like, oh yeah, that she used to live right here, and that's her grandma. Blah, 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 blah. We see them all the time. That was. Well, I'm telling you, it'll be a thing, bro.
All I know is I feel like this is just a chirp right now.
It's just a chirp.
We're gonna see if it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, I believe it is, because once it starts to spread, other people are gonna want to investigate and do their due diligence as well, and then people may start coming out. I don't know.
That's what would bring it, I think, of 3D. Start having real bodies come and being interviewed.
But why, when people, if they know the family history, and they, but maybe they don't, don't go that far back. I don't know.
People want this woman to be black. If she had not have been trying to get the black vote, she would not have came with the black stuff, and it would have been genuine about her situation.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. All you got to do is just be yourself and run for the office seat.
That's why it's so easy for this woman as a prosecutor to prosecute all these black people, because
no connection.
You ain't connected to it.
Well, I mean, that's my thing. Be your authentic, true self. Be who you are and still run. Just because you are a woman, and based off of the stances that you're taking, I'm sure she would still have supporters.
Yeah.
She probably would still have a lot of black people supporting her.
Of course.
But you do not have to fake to be of another race to run for an office position, seat. That ain't it. So if this is a lie,
when you build a campaign on lies, that's what happens.
Else is going to how you gonna be the front man in the White House all based off of a lie? Are they gonna believe? I mean, so what else you gonna lie about?
They won't trust you.
Exactly. What else are you?
They won't.
Not being honest about.
They won't trust it.
Because then when you got to lie, you got to tell another lie. You got to tell another lie. You got to tell another lie.
You got to keep the lie going.
And you got to remember all the lies you told.
So I'm gonna say this, y'all.
That's messed up.
It's keep coming out, and I wouldn't be surprised if in the next couple of days Candace has, because I think she's hit it dead on the money. But now it's just going to take something that's going to take to seal it, to say this is exactly what it is. And once you get that, it's over. And probably a grandchild of the grandma. Somebody related.
I just remember when she was having her speech, not the debate, but when she came out and did her speech. Mm-hmm. When I was looking at her sister, it just seemed a bit strange. The sister was down there, supportive, but I don't know. I just felt.
Richie, or what she call her?
Was just looking at her face and expression sometimes when Kamala would say certain. But anyway, okay. Not to say that they're not sisters. I'm not going there. I'm just kind of thinking about some of the things that she was saying, how genuine she was, and the sister's response to the ingenuineness of some of the things that she was saying. That's where I'm going with this. But nevertheless, Nevertheless, you don't have to lie to kick it.
You don't have to lie to kick it. All right, 2024. The end is coming to the end of 2024. Be more.
Talk less.
We'll see you on the next one.
Love you guys.
It's getting crazy out here.
Show live.